Brian Patacca. How you doing, man?
Hi. Good.
I love it. I love it. Look at that sign behind you. Note to self, be kind, be kind, be kind.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that you have a sign there that says that because I only know you as kind, you
Oh, I
know?
appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
so
appreciate that.
you like just in case you have a moment, you just have a sign you can look back on, right?
But I also I'm gonna go real woo-woo right away. Is I
Yeah.
believe that all of the greatest religions and spiritualities of the world can be summed up in two words: be kind, be kind, be kind.
Oh, love
And
that.
I think I try to live my life. I'm not the first person who said that, though. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Ken Wapnick or somebody. But I believe that that is the answer to everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know, and not just to others, but also to yourself, right? I think
yeah.
it's a reflexive also.
Oh, I like that. So maybe the first be kind is to you, or
Yeah.
somewhere in that three, you get like make sure that you put you in there. I'm gonna dive right in. I'm gonna dive
Okay.
right in, and I'm gonna ask a hard hitting question.
Okay.
I hope you're ready. Right?
Okay. Now I'm scared. Be
Now you
kind.
should
Be kind. Be kind.
kind. New York or Los Angeles?
Ooh, I
I told you. Everybody thinks they're ready for my question, but they're never are. Tell me, buddy, what's New York or Los Angeles?
can I just tell you, I'm really wrestling lately. I'll just tell you brief.
Okay.
My best friend in New York, who was my roommate forever in New York City, is now leaving New York City. And I realized inside of me, I had this huge secret to like, one day I'll live back in New York City again and we'll live together again, which is like so not who I'm going to be as an adult man at the point of like live with my roommate again. But I'm going to say that I like where I am is where I want to be. So I'm in LA. So LA is the answer today. If I was in New York next week, you can ask me next week and I'd probably say New York.
That was you cheated.
I cheated.
Sorry. That's okay. We'll allow it. We'll allow
Okay.
it. You know, as I was doing a little research on you, I have to say that I realized I don't know your journey. I don't know your journey, and I want to know more about like Brian Patacca. Can you
Sure.
listen?
So when I was 4 years old,
yes, let's go there.
I will say one thing. So when I was 4 years old, my mom said, "What makes me the happiest?" And I said, "Starting something and finishing it." And I think that that's still true for myself today. And I was an actor. You know, I went to school Northwestern. I grew up in Ohio. I went to school Northwestern, studied acting, and I was really excited by producing the whole time I was in college as well. So I came to New York City. I worked in advertising for Broadway shows. So my shows were like Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, the Public Theater, Kiss Me Kate, like those were my clients. And so I was learning all about marketing theater. And at the same time, I was like quietly auditioning. And then one day I walked into my boss's office and said, "I have to quit my job because I can't grow up to be you. And I love you, but gotta go." And I was in an off-Broadway show called The Donkey Show for like 2.5 years. And at the same time, I was doing tons of commercials and was making my living as an actor. It was great. And I believe that happiness begets risk. We feel like we can take risks when we're happy often. And I was like, okay, it's never going to be a good time to move to LA. I'm going to do it now while I'm working a lot. And I know at that point I was making my living as an actor, partly because of the show, but mostly because I was booking a lot commercially and doing some TV. So I moved to LA, did really well when I first got to LA, booked a bunch of TV right away. And then I started to get in a bad mood whenever I'd get an audition. And not the normal, like, "Oh, shoot, I got to reschedule my day tomorrow" bad mood, which I think every actor goes through a little bit like, "Oh, dang it, my day," whatever, like that happens, right? It was more like, I can't believe I'm here when I really want to be with my clients. Because through this whole process, I had been coaching actors on the business, like on the side as my little thing that I did on the side, because I had more energy inside of me. Surprise. And so when I was having to reschedule my clients and then go to audition or go to set, it was bugging me. And so one day, a friend said to me, she said, "Maybe you want to be a coach more than you want to be an actor." And I was like, oh, clutching my pearls. "Who do you think you are?
How dare you? How dare you?"
And I was like, what? And then I like considered it and it took root. And it was like, oh my gosh, that is 100% the truth. And then I dove full into coach training and getting life coach training. And then I feel like it's the summation of like working in advertising and having a theater background and working as much as I did an actor, kind of I get to pull on all of those backgrounds whenever I'm working with a client and working with in my programs. And it just feels, when you're doing the thing you're supposed to do, the actors listening, when you're on stage or you're on stage, like I'm doing the thing I'm meant to do. Like when I'm coaching, I know that I'm doing the exact right thing I'm supposed to do in that moment. And, that's a gift for me. Before I come on a coaching call, it feels like the dark when the theater gets dark, before the lights come up on stage, like that's what it feels like. I can't wait. And so that's been my journey in terms of coaching. I hope that was the answer
No,
to the
that's
question.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. I just got a couple of questions about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's first of all, that moment. I want to talk about that moment because I think a lot of actors can get behind this moment of, do I stay or do I go? That's where, do I stay or do I go? And you know, I'm a big proponent of like, go where your heart is going, right? And if you know, if this isn't feeling right, then it's okay to say I did it and move on. And I guess I just want to know if you can you can take us back to that moment, like just talk about that moment and how you made that decision, because a lot of actors have a hard time making that decision.
Sure. Meaning, when I said, yeah, acting's not for me, I'm ready to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I had the great blessing of having another thing that I love, right? I think sometimes we're considering like, should I still be an actor? Vacuum. Like no idea what the other thing is. Like, and in that moment, it can feel super monumental and like it's like it can feel a little too big. Not that I'm advocating for anyone to stop being an actor.
Right. That's not the conversation.
Right, that's all I'm saying.
You
No.
know?
But what I'm saying is I had the blessing of something else that I knew that I loved, that I was drawn to and wanted to spend my time doing. And so it wasn't a flipping of the switch.
Okay.
I took like, it was much tougher than that. My friend said to me, she goes, why don't you just like take 2 weeks off from acting? And I was like, I hate you, but okay. And so 2 weeks off looked like, well, I still showed up to auditions if my manager would get them for me, but I wasn't looking for auditions, or I wasn't looking to go to workshops, or I wasn't like actively in an acting class. Like I was slowly pulling back, and suddenly, you know, like I tried on what it would be like to really do this. And that just gave me like the power to step into that. And I often think about, for an actor, you know, when an actor's feeling low, I always say, well, how much are you acting? And that's my first place I go to. Well, you know, your place of alignment is when you're acting. So the further away you are from acting, the less awesome it's going to feel. So when actors often will feel like bogged down by like the business or something, they say, well, yeah, the business has nothing to do with acting. So how much are you acting? How's acting class going?
Yeah.
And so often I think you need to be in practice. I think that when you're in practice of that thing you were called to do, you're smarter. You're smarter about yourself. When I say you're smarter, I mean you're smarter about yourself. Oh, I can actually make a decision because I know my tank around acting is full.
Yeah.
And now I can ask questions about my life, as opposed to I haven't been acting forever. And should I be an actor? Look, how about you act for a while and then you revisit that question? I think that's, and so for me, you know, I was coaching a lot and I knew like, oh, heck yeah, I want to be with my clients. I want to be across from a client right now.
Yeah. And I think this question, again, like we said, we're not advocating for anybody to stop acting, but
Yes.
what I was thinking about when I was asking this question, there are a lot of people who are on the other way, where they're, you know, doing possibly like I was a bartender. Right. And then I also wanted to, you know, I was also acting as well for a while. And it's like, how do I get away from bartending is what I kept like, you know, how do I get away from this and how do I act more? So I'm thinking about it as like, when do you know to make that decision? Is it just like, oh, only when I get that job? Or are you like, no, let me fully step into this. So I was deconstructing it that way, if that makes sense.
No, I love the way you did, because what I always think is like, there's this math that creative people do that says, if I'm spending more time doing this other job, then that means acting isn't important. Like if I'm spending more time doing my temp job, then that means like the reason why I'm not successful is because I'm not spending more time in my acting career because of this job. And that's like to me, this is where that language around a survival job versus like a freedom job comes in. And like that job gives you the freedom to act, to go to acting class, to come home from work and be excited about the script you're working on or whatever that thing is that's going on besides that other job. And so the way that I like you're talking about this is, I think you're saying like the decision to, do I stop doing that other thing so I can really go fully into acting? I always just say the actors that I find who feel the lightest around their acting career are the ones who aren't also hanging on it, the need for it to be their only paycheck.
Yeah.
My only paycheck is from acting, then that means I'm really successful. And it's like, oh, I guess I get worried about you. Yeah. Like I worry about the actor who says that, because the actors who are only able to act, you got a real something going on already. And if you're putting that much pressure on you when you're also trying to like pay your rent and all that stuff, it just is unfair, I think, to one human spirit. Right.
You know what I love also that you said, Brian, there, if anybody caught that, you called it a freedom job. These side hustles, or these day jobs, as we call them, I like to call them also our investment jobs, right?
Ooh,
Because
love
they
it.
are literally investing in our career. They're like our first investors, in our career.
Yes.
But I love the lightness I felt when you called it a freedom job. So maybe we can hybrid it and call it like an investment freedom job or
I
freedom.
love it. I mean, I'm not the one who came up with freedom job either. I don't know where it came from, but I heard it once. I was like, that is what it is. Or
Yeah.
some people call it your thrival job, which is a word
Mhm.
I don't really like to say
Yeah.
because it doesn't sound good coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of the investment job. That makes really good sense to me. Like this is your venture capital into yourself.
It is. It
Yeah.
is like that job is helping you buy acting classes, not buy, but get in acting classes, headshots, or all the stuff that we need. And like you said, I was one of those people who liked steak. So I didn't have a problem staying at my investment job because I was like, I don't want to eat top ramen and go like, no offense to anybody eating top ramen. That just was not my journey. That
Yes.
was just not my journey. And so I
Well,
was like,
DaJuan, I love the way you say that because I think there's this other thing that I really want to blow apart, which is this myth that you have to suffer to be
Mhm.
creative. And like, no, you're allowed to have an apartment that you like. You're allowed to spend time and money and energy on something other than acting so that you can be full enough to be a great actor. Is
Yeah.
another way, like, right? Like if you're hustling like every day and like can hardly pull it together to like pay your rent I just feel like it draws a different energy from you. Like it just can, I always think financial things feel very global and they can really pull the rug out from underneath us. And so if you can find some ease around like believing that it is what sustains the rest of your career, like you said so beautifully, is your investment job, acting just becomes that much easier. Your career becomes that much easier to you.
Yeah, and because I really believe that we as actors, a lot of actors, I'm going to put myself in there, we as actors are operating under a set of old rules, right? Old rules that were back there. We're like, oh, this is how the only way that we're going to get it is if we just struggle and we eat top ramen, we sit in our car and all that. And I just don't think it has to be that way anymore. That was back when studios used to give like picture deals and something like, you know what I mean? And but we're bringing that to the 21st century and we're saying this is the only way. And I just don't think that anymore. But I guess I want to say, so you were working with actors. It sounds like while you had a market, you were working in marketing, and you were also acting, but you were also working with actors. Now I missed that piece. When did that come into play? When did
So I
he's
got
sneaky, you all. He's sneaky.
I'm getting some more now you're gonna get some more details. So while I was doing the Donkey Show in New York City, I did it for 2.5 years. A Donkey Show is Midsummer Night's Dream, told through disco songs, directed by the great Tony Award winner Diane Paulus. It was my first real job in New York City. It was incredible, right?
That was code. I thought that was code. The Donkey Show.
Make sure we're clear, right?
You're clear, right?
So backstage, I was with these incredible performers 6 shows a week, right? We had 6 shows. It was 6 show week. So, and I would see them and hear them struggling to get representation. And I would be like, come sit down next to mama. Let me talk about what's going on. And I'd be like, okay, this is what you're like, because we had 2 shows on a day. Like, okay, here's what you're going to do. And here's what you're going to do. And it was working. They'd suddenly get auditions or they suddenly get representation. And I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'd educated myself to know how to do the business. And then I got recruited by this company that doesn't even exist anymore to sell acting classes and to coach actors at the same time, right? And I didn't care less about selling acting classes. I cared about coaching the actors because that was I was having fun. And by me continuing to do it in my own career, I was seeing success, and then I just bring it to them inside of this company where I'd be like, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna send postcards, and then you're gonna go drop this off here. And can you get the breakdowns, or let's look at backstage? Like, and I was just every day like helping actors all day long. And then at the same time, my career was getting bigger and bigger. And I mean, I say that like I'm like Brad Pitt or something. My career was getting to better and better, let's say that. And I was able to, and so I was booking enough commercials where I was sustaining myself. And I left the show. I worked in regional theater and I did commercials at the same time for a while. And so I loved my life. It was fabulous, but I don't know, I'm from the Midwest. I have this huge work ethic where I loved working all the time. So when I wasn't on set, I'd be like, okay, let's meet at Starbucks. I'm going to coach you for 60 minutes and talk to you about how to do this. You're looking for an agent. Let me tell you how to do it. Or you're looking for this part of your career. So it came very naturally to me because it excited me.
Yeah. It's really awesome to hear. As I learned your journey, you've been working with actors for a very long time.
Yeah. If you're gonna ask me for the math,
I'm not gonna. But it really sounds like this is somewhere that lights you up, right? That really lights you up. And I think I've heard just the tools that you have as in a marketing, right? As we're talking about the marketing, is it a degree, a profession? Like what?
No, so no, the tools were all because of my working in that Broadway show.
Okay.
Or the advertising agency for
Advertising,
so long.
sorry, and working with advertising, which is something that actors, I feel, we have such a struggle with sometimes, like advertising ourselves or marketing ourselves.
Yes.
And I guess I just wondered, did that piece help you with actors? I mean, is
Oh yeah, I was like, no. So there's a part of, we have this value inside of my business which it says, don't be weird. Which is like when we all, so much creative people, actors, you experience this so much where it feels like if I decide to raise my hand and say I exist, it's slimy, it's gross, like I should just be discovered, like I need to hide and then I get discovered in an audition, like I'm not allowed to say that I'm not allowed to say that I'm here. Like that's what marketing is. That's what advertising yourself is inside of this business. And I so wholeheartedly believe it is just showing up and saying that you're here, saying that you're here to be counted. And it's one more place for, it's one more place where we're being asked to take up space. And you all know that you do this because every actor in the world I know will talk about going home and like having to say to their aunt or their uncle, yes, I'm an actor. Well, you're not on TV yet, and having to explain what that means. Like, just because I'm not on TV doesn't mean I'm not acting, doesn't mean I'm not successful, doesn't like, and you get so much agitated. People get so agitated about having to talk to their family in particular about that. And I just find that that is a way we are given that journey, or actors are given that journey as creative people so that they can overcome that with their family. The families are there so you can learn how to overcome that. You can talk about what you want to see the change in the world. I hope I'm making sense here. Like this is to me, this is you are if you want to be an under the radar actor, you want to be an actor who, I don't want to show up. I want them to just kind of find me. You're lying to yourself because there's a part of you that called you to being an actor in the first place. And that part had something to do with changing the world in some way or another, or telling stories that return us to what it does to be human. And you are hiding when you say, I want to stay small. There's some part of you that isn't believing in yourself yet. There's some part of you that needs to be healed. There's some part of you that still needs, or what I find most often is you just need the tools to freaking know how to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the real truth is like, the only idea you have is that girl you hated in acting class who sends you a newsletter once a month and you're like, she's so annoying. Great. You don't have to do that. There's other ways to do this. But I think that oftentimes we don't have, you're not given the tools. No college program gives people the tools to run the business, right? I'm not saying everyone has to go to college, but like the business part of acting is not something taught except for people like you and me who say, we believe that actors need to be out there doing this and we want them to be doing it so passionately. So we will make things to help them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that I kind of just like to say to my actors that you can't be a secret and be a success. And most of the time what I find is that the actors that are hiding, I think, like you said, one of two ways. There's some stuff going on that we really have to dig deep and excavate. But it also comes down to we're worried about our other actor friends judging us or thinking that they are here it is. What are they going to think about us? Right. Yes. And in my mind, I'm always like, they're not giving you a job. Stop.
Well, no. And suddenly you decide, great, I'm going to let the other actors in my acting class be the board of directors for my career because they are directing my decisions. Yes. They are telling me what to do with my decisions because I'm afraid to show up or whatever it is. And I was talking to an actor today and she's like, I'm afraid I'm going to annoy them. That's what I always hear. I'm going to annoy them by showing up. And I say, great, they will click unsubscribe. Whether that's actually they'll click unsubscribe on a newsletter or whatever, like literally they'll click or figuratively click unsubscribe. Yeah. And then the people you're left with are the ones who do want to be invested, who want to be involved. Like we have to cut the wheat from the chaff a little bit by showing up and being out there, putting ourselves out there. Yeah.
That's so good, Ryan. That's so good. Yeah. All right. So I got it. So we're tracking, we're getting up almost up to the present. We're almost up to present. I just feel so like I'm learning all this little stuff about you. Let me just sum it up. What do you think most people don't know about you? Most people don't know about Brian Patacca.
Oh, I hate you. Okay, so first of all, okay, here's what. People will meet with me and be like, there's a little bit of a, sometimes people will act like I have all the answers, right? And I don't have all the answers at all, but what I think I do have is I have a way of being able to say what you're doing is tender and vulnerable and should be handled gently. And there is a, meaning putting yourself out there, I think specifically, and I'm trying to articulate this. And when you do, the response you get is going to be 10,000 times better than you imagine it's going to be. Meaning, like, let's hold what's so precious to you, and can we hold it more lightly, I guess is a way to say it. Can we hold it more lightly where we see, let's see what happens, like a spirit of possibility into whatever the thing that you're doing. I forget what your question was. Oh, the thing that people don't know about me. People don't know about me is I stomp around my house and get just as frustrated as anybody else, and I'm scared sometimes. Yeah. Right? Like, I remember I can think about this class that I taught, and I've been beating myself up for 3 months. So I was like, it should have gone better. And multiple people who were there were like, what are you talking about? That class was great. Like, we have those things we kick ourselves for, right? Yeah. And I just find that I will sometimes need to forgive myself, right? Yeah. I think that's a tough journey, right? So I think that's one of the things that people don't expect about me.
So there's one thing that happened there for me, right? There is this beautiful intersection that we hit, right? With you, that I just saw you. You gave this, you're on the journey of this beautiful answer of holding something very light, right? And then this, like, I got to tell this question. I got to come in with this answer. And I was tracking. And so I want to go back to what we need to hold that's light, because it was so beautiful. And I think you were on this path that actors need to hear. Can I go back there? Do you mind?
Yeah. When I say hold it lightly, let me approach it from a different angle. One of my clients taught me this song, and it's the song we sing whenever we're about to put an email out into the world, or you're going to send a postcard, or you're going to make out a scary ask for somebody. And the song goes like this. No one cares, 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 no one cares. You are going to worry about the wording of that email 6,000 times more than the person receiving it is going to feel it or hear it or read it, right? And there is that's the part of holding lightly, this preciousness, which we think we get one shot, or this preciousness with I have to make my one ask because then I can never ask again, or this, like, there's this other artistic thing that we talked about earlier that has something to do with like this one, I've only got one shot at this and then it's over with. If I screw up that audition, or if I reach out to them, I can never reach out to them, or I can only ask one favor. And what to me that denies, and this is where I think the holding lightly, what to me that, if you believe that, then you are denying the belief that everything is happening in the right time. So to me, if you cannot believe both, you can't hold both those mindsets at the same time. So the reason why I ask you to hold it lightly, that's my Cliff's notes for saying everything is happening at the right timing. Because if you let go of that, you'll send the email, the best version you could give of that email, you'll send it and they'll say no, and time will pass and you'll feel okay to ask again, because it's going to happen at its right time. And when you send that email, when you get the no, you will learn something more so than you would have had you just thought about it forever, right? I mean, no offense to philosophers, but I say this all the time. Thinking will teach you very little, and acting will teach you a lot. Taking action, you will learn so much by it. And I love philosophers, but I'm just saying, like, I think for
actors, I don't feel like you do. I don't feel like you do. I don't get that. Did you do?
I mean, I think you're gonna ask me this later, but I'm skilled as a reverend, right? That's where some of my background. And so theology and thinking and all that is important to me. But for me right here, as we talk about this is where take action. And if you fail fast is one of the things you and I think have heard, both of us have heard that before, right? Like, when you take action, you're going to learn so much more than by thinking about it. I know every actor listening has got that one person they met that one time who's just, they're afraid to reach out to them. They reach out at the exact perfect moment. And then they've got like, oh, I guess that wasn't the perfect moment, when they don't reach out back to them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot of group actor think. Is what I call it, like the cult of average, or like, like everybody's like, they're listening to that one actor who was on like in a cafeteria with them or something, and they said, don't send it to Sharon because Sharon hates postcards, and now that goes for every casting director. I'm like, that's not how that works. But I think I love what you're saying, because what I hear through all of that is, if we really settle in the knowing part, that this is where we're meant to be, that if we send that one email, or if we get a no or whatever, it's not so weighted, because we know that our yes is coming, because this is where the career, the path that we're meant to be in. Right? Is that about right?
Yes. Yeah. You said it, because if you are so rooted in knowing that you're doing the right thing, this career is inevitable. Now, that doesn't mean be sending off emails and not think about what you're saying and be a dipstick about it all. I would say a different word, but I said dipstick, right? So like, it does mean be thoughtful and like try to write a good email, right? And try to prepare for your audition, but it does mean we get to hold this a little more lately. Remember, you like this, right? We like acting. Can we like bring please, can we have fun here? Like, this is part of what this is. So if you're holding it so tightly, you've been around actors who are holding it so tightly, and you're always like, you're uncomfortable around them, right? Yeah. And so, yes, you nailed it.
So one of the things you did say there is, you said dipstick, right? And I'm just not really sure that's what a reverend would say. And so I need to know more about this spiritual practitioner you are. Tell me more about it, because it's a little free there.
Yes. Okay. So I would usually say a lot worse bad words. I swear all the time. Just this past February, I was ordained as a reverend, and this is not like I can marry my friends at church. Like, this is not like I went online, and this is a 2-year program that I was a part of. And, we had lessons every single day, and I had to meet with a partner. And so my background is in A Course in Miracles, which is a non-denominational. There's no dogma, there's no doctrine, there's no religion. It is a psychological mind training based on typical Christian themes, basically to use its story to be able to tell you the story, but it does not say that it's the only door to enlightenment. Yeah. Right. It is. So for me, it's no dogma, no doctrine, no religion. It's every religion and no religion is a good way to say that. And I mean, doesn't it always come when we have our low points in our life? I feel like a lot of people find spirituality at a low point, and I was not raised with any spirituality whatsoever. I would say that my parents are spiritual-ish people, but like there was no religion. And I found it. I had a rough breakup, and it was disorienting. And so I found myself seeking, and I couldn't get enough of it. And I was using it in my coaching all the time. One of my favorite lessons in A Course in Miracles is do not let your function go unfulfilled. And to me, that if your function is acting, then that is what, that is your job. You need to fulfill your function, right? And so to me, the two weaved so beautifully together for me to be able to have more language. That's why I wanted to pursue my reverendship, is so that I would have more language to serve my clients. And because it gave me a greater sense of, the big secret is, yes, I'm helping you get acting jobs, and you're meeting with agents and blah, blah, blah. But the big secret is we're each becoming better citizens of the universe, because we're doing this path together, right? Yeah. And that to me gave me such greater satisfaction in the work that I was doing. And also, when you know this, because you work with people, when you're talking to them, you want to really meet them where they are with language that they can digest and understand. And it was just giving me different language to be able to help and to serve. And it's had tremendous meaning for me in my life. I'm glad it is over. The 2 years were a lot of work. So I know a lot about it all now, but it was like, I'm really glad that I get to be free from it in some ways. Yes.
Yeah. And for those that don't know the Course in Miracles, it is, like you said, it is a spiritual practice, but it's a Marianne Williamson who helped make it really kind of, big. Yeah. And, I think she's just wonderful in her own right. I love how she says, that a miracle is a shift in perception. Right. And that's like one of those things that's big, so I just wanted to hear it. And it's just very interesting for me to hear that this has just been 2 years for you, Brian. Yeah. Right. Because I feel like you've been bringing in a spiritual element to your coaching way before 2 years. Right. And
so it took me 3 years. Okay. It took me 3 years. Here's why. I wouldn't call it a crisis of faith, but I had my first year of the study. And then I started year 2, and I was like, I don't know about this. This is a lot of work. And I stepped back from it, and then I went. So it took me more than 2 years. But yes, I've been bringing it in before I started my serious study for sure.
Okay. Okay.
And Marianne Williamson was Marianne Williamson was my doorway into understanding A Course in Miracles as well. And then going to get trained as well.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't mean to call you out, but I was just saying, I feel like you've been bringing that for a while.
Wow.
So, okay. So we're back up there. I'm getting it. I love the Reverend. So do I have to call you Reverend Brian? Like, I mean, what do I?
People, no.
Rev B? Rev B?
Rev B? I don't know. Rev B sounds like some kind of car thing or something, or an app or something. Reverend Brian, sure. No one calls me that, but sure.
Yet. You're going to hear this podcast and you're going to get a lot of Rev B situations.
Please no.
No, I think it's good. I think, one of the things that I believe that, again, that I think about you is I think you show up so authentically at all pieces, all points. And you're like, sometimes I'm going to be a lot of energy. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm going to be here. And it's just the way, and it's almost a beautiful, unapologetic spirit that I get to see, and I think that's great for other actors to see as well, as when they're coaches or when people, not that we're perfect at all, but that we are actively trying to show up as ourselves. And step into more and more. So, so that's why I want to make sure this holistic approach that you are taking with coaches, and I'm sorry, with actors is there. I want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, when you said, I always think about what you said once, and I can't remember where I heard you say it, but like, we're flying the plane while we're building it. You said it at one point. I was listening to you speak, and I actually run with that all the time. That part of that freedom that comes from like being authentic is like, I don't need to show up perfect here. I just need to show up.
Yeah.
I need to show up. That's the period at the end of that sentence. And I always think of that as that phrase inside of my head gives me freedom to do that.
Yeah. Good. Build as we go. Build
as we go. Yeah.
Build as we go. But like you said, action is required. We're like, everybody's like, these guys are just having a love fest. Like, come on, just side back. All right. So I love it. And one of the things that like you mentioned back when you were in New York, and we haven't even talked about the Actors Salon, but I tell me, hold on. So I just did it, Brian, where I have like 10 questions coming at the same time. And like, it's all coming to me. But one of the things I wanted to say, like back in New York, it sounded like you were helping actors find agents. And that's one of the things that I know you do really, really well now. Like you just are magnificent in helping actors find agents. And I know you've helped over 450, actors find it. Higher, it's even higher. And I say that from a tweet, and it was so like beautiful. This tweet was like, I don't know how many other coaches are helping. I was like, right on, like just say it, put it out there. And how did you land there? Because there's so many avenues to go with actors, right? Mindset is what I love. I love doing that. But how did you get on? If it wasn't materials, if it wasn't, how'd you get there?
I'll tell you why. And it all connects. So in New York, I really was helping people be accountable. And I was doing it as an actor myself. I'd meet with a bunch of actors every Wednesday night. And it was called Wednesday AAS because it was Actor Accountability Salon. That was the name we called it, AAS, right? And I was there to help myself in my career and to help them. Right. So it was like, what are we going to do between the next 7 days? Let's write it down and we're all going to show up and do it again. And that's where I figured out I was a coach, because I was like, I hate doing it myself. I just want to do everybody else here.
Yeah.
It was so clear. Right. So, and then we were getting success and so took off. What I found when I was helping, it came from working with private clients partly, is when I was helping someone get it together to reach out to reps. It was so clear to me that when you're reaching out to reps is where you have to clean house. Everything needs to look good. We need to clean it. So where is your resume where it needs to be? Does it look great? Are your headshots looking great? Is your acting where it needs to be? Do you know your castability and your type? Have you built relationships with the casting directors? And so what I really liked about the representation, the like reaching out for reps, is it makes the actor, it's not about because I want to make sure they get reps. It's because it makes the actor go, where have I not actually been showing up a little bit in my career, and to really take stock of it. And so what I was noticing is every time I was helping someone get reps, they were doing such a beautiful job of going, oh, great, I'm ready to reach out to reps. And no matter what happens with reps, I know where I'm going to put my energy in my career, because I noticed this was the place that was not quite finished. This was the thing that needs a little bit of sharpening here. And what I noticed is when you would bring your conversation to reps honestly, without delusion of like, I think the way people used to, this is like the 1998 way to reach out to agents was like, look how awesome I am. I mean, people might still be doing this, puffing yourself up, trying to feel bigger than you are, really showing them the receipts. Like, this is what I booked on my own and I've done it all on my own. And now do you want to get on board the train? like a little bit of that kind of like, I've got it all going on. And so to me, it was delusional because why didn't you have an agent already then? Like why you don't need an agent. Things are going great. Where am I? Why do you need me? Why are you even emailing me? Looks like things are fabulous over there, right? So what it was doing is saying, take stock of reality of what's happening inside of your career and then present that to managers and agents, which I think can be very difficult to do on your own because you can come off as naive or you can come off as green, but that's the journey that I tapped into. And what I noticed, the reason why it excited me so much is the actor felt so powerful because they were saying, this is where I am and this is where I still know that I need to grow. Do you want to come with me to help fill this in? As opposed to, I'm already great. Do you want to get on board?
Yeah.
And that to me was where the real change. And I just love the way that it made an actor look back and say, what do I need to clean up my shit? Am I allowed to say that word on the show?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
It's
like, where's my street? Where's my side of the street not clean yet? Why have I not been? So for me, there's also this is the underlying part of it, which is, I think, confronting for a lot of actors is you have to believe that you weren't meant to have reps until that point either. You have to believe that everything has been delivered to you at the exactly right time. So if you can put that mindset on for a second, I've not been ready for reps during this time, right? So then I can go, here's what I was being taught by the universe, by the acting world, so that I was that much more ready now.
I'm already triggered.
Be with someone.
I'm already triggered, right?
Great.
Like
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So wait, also, this is an unfair business. I don't want to pretend this is like a super easy, unfair, right? Like this is actually speaking from a place of privilege, honestly, as well, because this is believing that everything is equal for everybody, which that is not the case. But if you can look back with those eyes, you can start to really take stock on where have I not been showing up and what could I clean up?
Yeah. And I was joking when I was triggered, but not in a bad way triggered. But when you're saying I have to like really believe that, I'm like, but I was ready. I don't know. You don't know my life, Brian. Right. That's what like I can understand. Imagine that's what actors are coming to you with. Like, what do you mean? I did all the things. I crossed all the, the T's and dotted the I's and stuff. And so I can understand how that might feel that way. Right. Like,
totally.
But, one of the things that this brings up for me, when I was doing a big agent search was I remember just having this feeling of, why is this not happening to me? Why don't I have this together? All of that stuff. And I remember a friend saying, like, I was just like, I'm tired. I'm just going to give up. I tell this story all the time. And that friend was like, I hear you. I really, this all sounds like it sucks, but that's not going to get you an agent. So get it together. And so it sounds like you're giving a little bit of that swift kick where my friend was kind of like, I hear you. I hear all of that stuff, right? But now it's time to really, let's get a little bit more strategic about this. And let's tap into like, what's our side that we need to make sure we're clean too? Is that about right?
Yeah, totally, DaJuan. And part of what came up for me when you said that is, I actually believe, let's pretend we went through this whole process and and you didn't get a manager or agent, right? Wow. What do you know now? So now I know, let me go back and look at the tapes I was presenting to them. Let me go back and look at my resume, as opposed to making it about, I'm not talented enough. Let me go back and actually look and see what I was sharing.
Why did we go there? Why did we go there? The first thing we go to is like, it must be my talent, Brian. Like you nailed it. Cause that's exactly.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem with it is, and this is, I don't think I've articulated this before, is an agent becomes an avatar for ourselves. An agent or manager is the person who's saying, hey, you should see DaJuan for this role. And if we see someone who is saying that, yes, I am worthy enough for a job, and they don't see it in us, we suddenly have a less of belief in ourselves.
Wow.
And I think that is like such crap. Wait, let's just be really clear. I don't know of another weird business where you hire someone, but they get to decide if they want to work with you, and then they take some of your money. It's a very weird scenario here, right? They get to pick you, but they work for you. It's a very, right? So I think all of that is built into, all of that can seduce you into believing that the agent knows what's true about you.
Yeah.
And let's just remember, you are reaching out to a stranger. Can we just please remember that piece of this? This person is a stranger, which is why for me, when people are doing this, reaching out, it's so important to me that they show up in their materials. They show up in their email. And it's too often actors will reduce themselves to their receipts. Here's my credits. Here's the cast directors who know me. Here's my castability. Thank you. Like, and then what that means is, okay, so if I'm the manager or agent receiving the receipts, okay, those don't add up for me. Bye. Okay, those do. Okay, I'll meet with you. These don't, like, you're only letting me see your receipts.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of actors make a mistake.
So everybody who's out there listening to us, I'm hoping in Bangladesh or across the sea, across overseas and all the different places, when Brian says receipts, because I speak that language, we're just talking about credits, right? Yeah. We're talking about credits. So like if you go to my Instagram, I have like one of my highlight bubbles, receipts. And so I understand what you mean, but we're talking about just hitting the, just showing the receipts. And what I hear you saying so powerfully is there's more to you than just receipts, especially if you don't have the receipts, right? Yeah. Like, if you don't have the,
let's use the word credits. I'll stop saying receipts.
I love it. I understand, but I'm going to say you don't have the traditional credits, right? You don't have the credits that it's like a network, blah, 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 or whatever. And that makes you think that you cannot get a agent or a manager or whatever. And I'm here to tell you that all of us who are at this place where we have the agents that you may or may not want, we all had to get somebody who believed in us first, and it's out there. It's out there. And that's what I hear you saying, like, show up authentically, show up like yourself, show up in your materials fully. Somebody's out there for you.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that there is somebody out there for you who wants to get on that journey with you. And what you just said is so important. Non-traditional credits. And too often an actor is going to reduce themselves to, I booked a co-star on criminal investigation. Or like identity discovery. And so now I have a TV credit. And so you should want to meet with me. When in fact, you were the lead in a feature film that you did in college where you played this really cool role. Like, it's just to help us understand what you've done beyond just the credit, because the credit isn't gonna, your credits are never gonna live up to how great you are. Like DaJuan, I mean, every actor in the world, maybe Meryl Streep can say, yes, my credits actually live up to how great I am. Every actor in the world can say, I've not worked as much as I am good or as talented as I am. Yeah. So to be very careful of trying to do that to yourself at this pivotal moment in your career, to reduce yourself to that.
Yeah. What do you wish actors knew about getting agents? Just to, like, if I could just like, what do you wish they all knew? Ooh, it's the secret sauce, y'all. I'm asking for it.
I wish that they knew that there is no such thing as ready. It is about a willingness to be seen.
Wow.
It is not about, I have this many credits, I have this referral, I have this perfect target list, I have this It is about a willingness to be seen. And it is about a willingness to be seen from the get-go, from the initial reaching out. So often I'll look at someone's resume, or I'll look at their email that they're sending when they're reaching out to managers and agents, and I'll say, this is great. Every actor in the world could say this. Where's you? Where are you? Also, your resume is confusing. I don't understand half these things on here. Can you clear this up for me? Like, why am I confused when I look at your resume? I always feel like, give your resume to someone who doesn't work in the acting business and say, do you understand this? And they'll go, what's this and this and this? They will tell, you'll know right away where you need to fix your resume. So the reason why I say this, the difference I wish everyone would know is it's not about readiness. It is about your willingness to show up.
Yeah.
Of course, remember, my belief is if you reach out and it doesn't happen, that's okay.
Yeah.
I have a really strong belief around you don't get one shot.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think we think about it really kind of skewed because we get about 75 auditions and get no all the time, but we don't think we're not meant to, right? It's like
you get one no from an agent or manager and you're done.
Right? Yes. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right. So if we were to sum this up, like if you could think of like one awesome takeaway, like, how can what can you leave with the actors that if somebody's listening to this, they're looking for an agent, like what's one tangible thing they can do right now?
One tangible thing they can do right now. Okay.
In the world of agenting, everybody.
The world of agent. Right. Okay. Okay. Go back and think about your entire acting career and think about the biggest almost that you had or the biggest role you ever had, and how can you make that understandable to a person who's never met you before? That is what needs to go in some of your messaging. So I always think, like, I had a client when she said she had like a huge audition where she didn't book the job, but the casting office that called her in for it, the callback that she had for the director, where she got to like that, have someone at that level. We think things about actors. When you hear about an actor who says, I got to audition to play opposite of Kate Blanchett and da-da-da-da-da, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, didn't matter if they booked it. You heard they got to audition to play, like that was enough, right? We as actors, you know, you're so quick to like, if I didn't book it, it doesn't matter. Give them an almost, or the role you know you most, you did the best at, whatever, and help them understand what it was. Tell them as much as you can about it, because that lets us know where you are. That lets us know how you fit into the business.
All right, Gail, I'm going to put Brian on the spot. What? Like, are you sweating again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm sweating. You know, this just brought up an idea that I thought, because I believe that we must rig the system in our favor. It's one of those things that I say, and I learned it from this event I'm about to ask you about, and we're going to talk about it. I was up for a role, and it was in my mind, I was next to producers, studio, everybody loved me, and it was just, and I mean, the casting director called me at home and was like, "Okay, we're going to go back in, we're going to read this, and they love you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to, you know," did it. Studio said he's still our number one choice, right? I didn't end up booking it. By the way, I had already, like in my mind, I had already thought about myself at Comic-Con. If that gives if that gives you any idea, I had already said my speech. I saw myself in Hall D, like, you know what I mean? So it was like that. But I'm bringing this up, Brian, because I walked away from that with a scar, right? Yes. And that scar was what was born out of that scar from a coach perspective was actor perspective is I need to rig the system in my favor. And we could talk about that in a second. But what I hear you saying about that moment is, if I were looking for reps, right? If I were going to go out there, I would say, what about that moment? What I say, like, oh, the casting directors called me at home, the studio and the director, like, how would I, from your example, you got it? Yeah. How would I work
So from example, I would write out the long version of this. You're not going to keep it all, but I would write like the person calling you at home. I would write, you know, like if you got special feedback, what that was. But what I really want to do is, you know, I find that remember that this person's a stranger. Right. And we do this in our normal lives already. You meet someone, you say, oh, well, where do you live? Oh, I've been to Los Feliz before. Blah, blah. Like, you drop in details and specifics, and those details and specifics, I believe, are like the rungs of the ladder towards connection.
Yeah.
And what we tend to do is we drop the specifics out when we talk about jobs at times as actors. So you would want to say, and I'm not asking you to do this now, but I want to put you on the spot.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Go ahead.
I would want you to like say the name of the casting director, say the name of the pilot, say the name of the showrunner, say the name of the network, say the name of the studio. And it's not because you're showing off. It's because I'm over here not knowing what you're talking about, and you need to help me understand what it is. So rather than a position of bragging or puffing up, I'm being helpful to the reader. I'm being helpful to the audience by giving them these details. Yeah. And that way the person can get a better sense of how big it was. So it might be like career highlight, being testing twice or going in twice for Ava DuVernay for her new pilot, being cast by Francine Maisler on the WB lot for their new studio series, where I was going to be series regular playing XYZ ABC. Ultimately didn't book it, but like, you didn't have to even say that, because you're literally not saying you booked it in the post, right? So to me, what we want to do is just pepper in as many capital letter specifics. That's what I call them to help people. As many so that I can get into what you're telling me.
Yeah. Brian, where were you?
What'd you say?
Where were you when I was looking for an agent?
I think this is a place where people shrink, though, because what happens is, here's it, ready? I'm going to puff myself up. I'm going to send this email to managers and agents. Okay, but now I don't want to sound like I'm bragging too much. And so then suddenly, like, you don't add those details. And those details are not, I want to just keep saying this, underlined, not bragging. They are helping me know what the heck you're talking about. I know who Francine Maisler is. She's a casting director. Oh, I know the WB studios. Like, oh, I know who Ava DuVernay. Like, you're helping me understand, right? And I don't know you from Adam right now. So now I'm getting a sense that, oh, this person knows players, people that are in the world. This person's in the game, right? And so those specifics just give me the rungs of the ladder to say, okay, I get who this person is. And then the best part is, if that person says no to you, good, because that person knew who you were.
Yeah.
What the actor tends to do is puff themselves up and then not be afraid to put the specifics, not put the specifics in, send out the email. The person was like, I didn't really get a sense of who they were, so I'm not calling. Then you think, I put myself out there. You didn't. You have to put yourself out there. And so now you've put yourself on this is where I see so many actors quit, which breaks my heart, because they'll come to me and say, this is what I've done so far in my career, and go, great. Well, you've kind of shut up about 50%. How about, can we take this to 100 together? And then we can see if you should give up, because 50% of you has been missing.
Wow.
And I honestly believe it is such a trick of like something hard to do on your own. Like you said, rigging the system, like that kind of thing where you need to work with someone like DaJuan, so who can help you like come out of your shell and get rid of those back stories that are holding you small. Or like you said, the one person in your acting class who said that one thing was like keeping you from playing big. That's
It's true. I love this, B. Rev B. I love it. I'm going to make fetch happen, guys. On podcast. I'm gonna, you know, I think it all comes down to this one thing that's really important, it seems like, to you and I, and it's mindset, right? And it's a bit of mindset. And I guess as we start to land this plane here, I just want to ask you about, where do you think actors are getting stuck with all of this, Brian? Where is it happening?
I just wish you could all be born without parents.
Just kidding. As a parent, that resonates so deeply.
Right. So we're all bringing all of our baggage from being children to our daily life, right? It's part of what we pick up as being a human being, and thank God for it. But I also think, you know, Rent is a fabulous musical. Moulin Rouge is a fabulous film, but they both teach us that artists are supposed to suffer. I mean, it's based on La Boheme, which is the story of artists suffering, the original story of artists suffering, which is Moulin Rouge, right? So I think that where we're picking this up is what's been taught to us. You know, artists die. Elizabeth Gilbert articulates this really, really well in her TED Talk, that artists die, or artists are alcoholics, or artists have lives of being miserable, living in a hole, and they get 1 million divorces. And look what fame can do to people. And so this weird push-pull that can happen inside of us, I think, of like, I want it, but I don't. Like, I want it to the degree that I can name what, I have to be able to name what success looks like in order for me to want it. And I think that let's go of the idea that what about what might be provided to you, success is something you never could have imagined. And in A Course in Miracles, we would say, I don't know my own best interests. And I think that we often, like, it's a little bit like when people talk about praying or like making a list for Santa Claus. I'm gonna tell him exactly what I want. And it's like low level spirituality, like The Secret, kind of like, I'm gonna manifest everything, which like, cool, I'm down for I'm so down. There's crystals on my desk. Here's one right here, right? I'm down for manifesting, right? But there's a difference between making the universe your errand boy, which is what Marianne Williamson says at times, or saying I am available and present to what's the next best unfolding for me and everyone else here. And so I think a lot of actors can pick up either from acting class or their parents, or just being raised that like acting is going to be this weird thing and I have to— Cult of average, or the cult of average. Or the cult of average, right? Yes, love that. Oh my God, yes. Right. And so for me, there's a bit of, you know, Van Gogh went out to the field to paint every day because he needed to paint, not because he knew exactly what gallery the painting was going to hang in. And there's that piece of it, which I think you hang on to that. And then like, that doesn't mean Van Gogh didn't know there weren't galleries. It mean he didn't know he like wanted it to hang there, right? But he painted anyway. And so there's this attitude that and even Van Gogh is probably not the best example to use, as I talked about earlier, but I'm just trying to say like this idea of the career is inevitable if you step into the art continuously. And then you need some help to get around this business stuff, because the business stuff is not what you were wired to know how to do. I love that. I believe that you're not wired to do this business stuff, right? Yeah. So if I weren't wired to do this business stuff and I wanted to work with Rev B, how would I do that? The best place to find me is probably on Instagram. Brian Says That. Very easy. And should I talk about a little gift? Okay, cool. I would love it. I made a little face. Your audience can certainly grab one of my favorite freebies I ever made. It's got the best URL ever, dearnewagent.com. It's a bunch of templates to help you reach out to agents, and it will show you specifics and demonstrate how to do this in some ways. I love that. And I'll make sure I connect that for you. Brian. Thank you.
So
This is fun.
good. It's so fun. You bring so much energy, and you know what? I just wonder what a coaching session would be like with you. We'd walk out of there, and I'd be like, like it's like I feel it, you know, because we just vibe at this frequency. So I just want to say thank you for showing up so authentically, man.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real gift. I love what you're doing out in the world, and I love the name of everything that you do. All the names. We have the best names for everything.
No,
I really feel like the names of your podcast, the name of your summit. I go, yes, that's what I want to do. Like I can, yes, please. I'm signing. Yes, yeah.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. Yeah.